My sister's BF tried to uninstall her and used my child as a hostage. Just to start off, everybody is okay. He was caught and arrested and is currently in jail with a bond his family can't afford. Where to start, but I guess I'll start by I'm traumatized. As a parent, the second worst thing that could happen, happened. First being death. I didn't know where he was for 6 minutes, but it feels like it was 30. And I feel like I was the last person contacted to know what was going on. I'm angry. I'm angry at my sister's BF. I'm angry at my sister, and I'm angry at myself. I know I shouldn't be, but I am. To make a long story short, my sister was supposed to watch my son a couple nights ago. She said she wouldn't be off work in time, but that he could watch him for 30 minutes, an hour before she got off. I thought it would be okay since it wasn't a long period of time. I was so wrong. I got a bad gut feeling when I pulled in to drop him off. I ignored it. I chalked it up to being anxiety, and I was just being selfish and wanted a fun night out. I get a call around 45 minutes after dropping him off. Sister's BF just came to sister's workplace, beat her up, crashed her car, and took off with my child, and said crashed car. I'm sorry, my name? I called back and she told me that they found him, but I couldn't see him yet, and I was instantly thinking he was dead. That was the worst 6 minutes of my life. Basically, my sister tried to break up with him that morning, but in his eyes, she's not allowed to break up with him. And that's what started all of this. I guess he was using their dog as a hostage at first, and so my sister got our other sister to get her dog out of that situation. She said she was going to tell me not to drop off my child, but that he was acting fine and had calmed down, so she didn't. But I really wish she did, and I'm mad she didn't. I would have never dropped him off. He pulled up to her workplace, told her if she didn't come out he would harm my child. Speeds off into an alleyway by her work and strangles her. Told her, "Do you really want to break up with me? I just want you to know if you break up with me and my child are gonna go on a ride." She says no, and he calls her a liar and crashes into her job sign, totaling her car. Then tells her if she tries to run or scream for help, he'll uninstall my child. Hit her again, more arguing. Starts to speed off to try and kidnap her, and she jumps out of the car and runs screaming into her job. Police found my child alone in their apartment with the door locked. He dropped him off and took off on foot. He turned himself in after hiding for about an hour, crying and admitting everything. SMH. My child is fine, didn't know what was going on, thought they were playing. But I am not okay. My sister isn't okay. She's been left with a large financial burden as they live together and is out of a car. And she is traumatized. I feel so bad for feeling angry with her. I know I wouldn't know what to do in that situation as I've never been in it, and she was in fight or flight. But I am angry. Irrational or not. I'm angry she didn't let me know they were having problems. I'm angry she jumped out of the car screaming after he said he'd uninstall my child. I'm angry I wasn't told immediately. But I also feel bad. I've always been my sister's protector, and I wasn't even worried about her when this was going on. I was only worried about my child. I feel more angry that my child was involved than about what happened to her, and that's terrible. Why I feel this way, and what to do with it. What to do from here. I want to make a post exposing him, maybe set up a goff asterisk in me for her, but I know she doesn't want that. I want to press personal charges / sue him, but I don't think she wants that either. I just don't know what to do or what to do with my feelings. My family doesn't even want to talk about it. There's so much more I could say, but at the end of the day, I am so thankful that my child is okay. I prayed so hard. I'm thankful my sister is physically okay with only mild bruising. And I'm thankful he's in jail, just hoping for a strong sentence. Edit. I feel like there is some confusion. The dog hostage situation happened around 1 or 2 p.m., I think, and I dropped my son off at 7:45 p.m. Not to say it wasn't bad judgment, but there was a good chunk of time in between the instances. However, I do not wish to condemn my sister or press charges on her. That wasn't the point of this post. She was just as surprised by this as I was. She was not covering for her abusive boyfriend. She had a bad lapse in judgment. She immediately ran into her job screaming to call the police and helped get him in jail. I definitely will be more cautious though moving forward, but please refrain from the super harsh comments about my sister. She didn't intend for this to happen. Y'all have helped me feel justified in my anger though, and I really appreciate that. And maybe it's because she's my sister and she doesn't have a bad bone in her body, but you are right. Her dog is her baby. She definitely cares more about him than her nephew, and if it was him in the car, I don't think she would have jumped out. But I'll just have to sit with this for a while. Some of OP's comments. OP adds, I forgot to mention, but he took a Xanax, I'm assuming right after I left. So he was under the influence as well, doesn't have a license, and also he was planning to do this the whole time. I think that's the most chilling thing of all. He looked me in my eyes and said, your child has a safe place to stay tonight before I left. And he just seemed so calm and normal. I never expected this to happen. Commenter. What he was arrested for and what he will be charged with can be vastly different. Contact the prosecutor for this jurisdiction and talk to them about your kidnapping scenario. As you voluntarily left your son with him, it's a stretch. Child endangerment fits, though, and you certainly have grounds for a civil suit. Basing this on the assumption you are in the U.S. OP. Yes, I am in the U.S. And on mobile patrol it states, charges, 5, aggravated assault, domestic assault, leaving scene accident with property damage, child abuse, neglect, under 6 YOA, criminal impersonation. Side post. 1 week later. Title. What happens if you are subpoenaed to court, but the court date is rescheduled and they don't subpoena you again? My sister was subpoenaed as she is the victim in a domestic violence case, where my child was also involved and endangered. They told her she doesn't have to show up since they didn't resubpoena her, but what happens if she doesn't? Will they drop the case? Will they move forward? Should she be there? I don't really know how this stuff works. For reference, it's a hearing. It got rescheduled to tomorrow last minute, and we are in the state of TN. Update post, 7 months later. Happened back in May. He ended up only getting 6 years probation. Right before my sister was to testify, they came and told her he took a plea deal. She was off the case and couldn't get any updates after that as it was no longer her case. His mom ended up sending me a very hateful and abuse-enabling, victim-blaming ass message on October 8th. He died November 22nd. Either an overdose or self-uninstall or both. Not completely sure. Not much of an update. Don't really know how to feel. I'm glad he can't hurt anybody else, but sad he didn't get a just full sentence and got the easy way out. It's been a weird month. Edit. I realized I left some things out. He ended up posting bail after. I guess his family did indeed have money. About 2 weeks after all of this happened, my sister left work and found him asleep in her car. She got a coworker to take her home, and the next morning he showed up at her home and she called the police. He was arrested, without bail this time. He ended up getting a nice lawyer, and the rest is history. Me and my sister have not been on speaking terms since June, besides occasionally on Sundays when we meet with the family we'd exchange a few words. After his death, we have since unblocked each other and have been in low contact. Hopefully we can move forward and work on our relationship. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. This is a huge update. One less woman beating, child abducting psycho in this world. OP. Honestly, my first reaction to the news was, may he rot, and I still feel that way, but I just still wish the judge felt the same, if that makes sense. Commenter. It does make sense. He get let off light with a plea deal and got to continue to be a threat to your sister. That's not right. I really hate it when judges let men like this off light, as if they're suddenly going to become a normal human being and leave their victims alone. Once they escalate, they never de-escalate. OP. Yes, she left court and moved out of her apartment that same day they had lived together. He financially and mentally ruined her. And his ex texted my sister after. He messaged her through the jail app and tried to lie and say some BS, and showed her SS and pics of how he acted and the bruises he left on her. She wasn't the first girl he had done that to. I'm glad my sister was the last, though. I hope at least. Commenter. I'm not really sure I would call death the easy way out, as it is the ultimate final punishment. Hopefully, he suffered as he was dying, but really, screw him. How are you doing? How is your son handling all this? OP. My son is pretty young and doesn't fully understand the concept of what happened in death and all that. But I mean, with me, like I said, just been a weird month. The week it happened, I had finally completely cut off my son's deadbeat dad. I had just lost my job, got some bad news, and found out he died all within the same week, so it was a lot. I do think it was a good outcome given he was only given probation and not jail time, and could do it to another girl/family. Me and my sister have been on bad terms since, and we just reconnected after he died, and can hopefully work on our relationship. I think it may finally be time to get into therapy, though, faced with tears of joy. Commenter. Why were you and your sister in bad terms from this? This doesn't really sound like her fault, is why I'm wondering. If you don't mind sharing, of course. I can't imagine what you're feeling. I'm sorry, this must feel terrible. All of it. OP. Just the stuff that happened. Her not telling me she was trying to break up him that day, and that he was holding their dog hostage just hours prior to the situation. I was going to have my parents watch him, but then she offered and she rarely watched him, so I thought it'd be good for them to bond, just for all of that to happen. I was willing to work through it, but then during the case, she wasn't telling me any information on it, even though I was constantly asking, and just seemed to not want to be bothered by it, drinking a lot and trying to move on. I get it, but she made it all about her pain and acted like I wasn't also traumatized, and it just frustrated and bothered me. That, coupled with a past issue that got brought up, just sent it into full-blown no contact. Commenter. The mom send you a hateful message? Why you and not the sister? This makes no sense. You didn't date him. OP. Oh, believe me, she sent my sister one too. I posted about the situation on Facebook back when it happened, and I guess she didn't see it until she had messaged me. But she was basically like, you are slandering my son, I'm gonna call the cops if you don't remove it, and a whole bunch of victim-blaming shit. She said my sister spitting in his face, in retaliation to him trying to R-word her, by the way, was abuse. And he beat her for it afterwards, but yet she didn't mention that part. Or rather, he lied about that.